This kind of rhetoric is frankly reaching a tone where it's quite dangerous. And I'm going to tell you all day long, rhetoric is okay, right? Speech is okay. But is there no sense of decency? I think that that's the problem. We've totally lost this decency. And now the answer is, well, we're going to defund ICE. We're not going to allow for this. We're going to demand that everybody have to wear their face open so that we can take pictures and then we can out them all over the internet and their families can be attacked. I mean, this is what these guys and these women that are working for DHS really are up against. And so this came up today in a press conference just moments ago. I want to bring you this sound from the president because he's being asked by the Fox reporter, what do you think about these Democrat bills where they're saying, hey, you're not allowed as an ICE officer to go masked. You must actually show your face. And again, remember this within the context of what just happened in Texas and listen to Donald Trump's response. Here it is.
And on one other subject, two Democratic senators now, Cory Booker and Alex Padilla, have a new bill out. They want to require CBP and ICE officers to have legible IDs, and they don't want CBP or ICE officers covering their faces. Would you ever sign that?
Well, they wouldn't be saying that if they didn't hate our country, and they obviously do. I'm surprised that they would do it, knowing a little bit about them. I don't know them well, but these officers are doing a tremendous job. They're great patriots. If you expose them because of, statements like have been made by Democrats and others on the left, usually, mostly, I think probably exclusively, you put them in great danger, tremendous danger. And it's sort of funny when people picket in front of Columbia, in front of Harvard, and they have masks on, more than masks. I mean, you can't see anything. Nobody complains about that. But when a patriot who works for ICE or Border Patrol puts a mask on so that they won't recognize him and his family, so they can lead a little bit of a normal life after having worked so hard and so dangerously, there's a problem with that. So they have this is the problem with the Democrats. They have a lot of bad things going on in their heads. They've really become they've lost their confidence, number one, and they've become somewhat deranged. I want to do whatever's necessary to protect our great law enforcement people, and they are right at the top of the list.
Wow. Well said, okay? And it really is sort of amazing. Like if you're at Columbia University or at UPenn or Harvard and you want to go on campus and chant and, do all the horrible stuff that they did, making one group of students feel really, really uncomfortable, obviously. And frankly, anybody, like who the heck wants to walk through that? They had to shut down classes. Remember that at Columbia? They couldn't even have the graduation, for goodness sakes. You pay all that money for 4 years and can't even graduate? Right? Just, And yet it's totally fine for them to wear the masks, but ICE officers who are being threatened with their lives they want to take the mask off of them. I mean, this doesn't really even make any sense. And I think it's getting to the point where we are in a very precarious spot and something's going to have to give.
Who were these suspects who actually fired the shots and were later arrested? Who were they, Tom?
Look, they're your typical protesters that go from protesters to criminals. The attack on ICE officers, you've covered it many times, is up nearly 700% now. We were talking 500% a couple weeks ago, so it continues. The rhetoric against the men and women of ICE is skyrocketing, especially by members of Congress. We have senators, we have Congress people that compare ICE to the Nazis, compare ICE to racists, and it just continues. So the public thinks, well, if a member of Congress can attack ICE, why can't we? So the rhetoric has to stop. Or it's a matter of time for someone to, one of the ICE officers goes down or a criminal goes down. But we already see an officer go down.
To be clear, so these were American citizens? These weren't illegals who opened fire?
No. As far as the investigation, I want to get ahead of the local investigation on this, but they appear to be agitators, people that are protesting ICE operations, damaging ICE property, want to attack ICE officers.
And this is why the administration is just saying, hey, can we have a truce? I mean, these people work for the federal government. They're trying to do their job. They're trying to enforce the law. Obama did this. I mean, we realize you guys have TDS 2.0, and it's a very vicious form, right, of TDS. It's worse for whatever reason than 1.0. But you guys got to stop.
Michael in the back.
Thank you, Caroline. An armed shooter today was shot in McAllen, Texas, after opening fire on Border Patrol agents. It comes just days after Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal recently said she gets, quote, inspired when activists obstruct ICE. Does the White House expect Democrats to tone down their rhetoric in light of what we saw today in McAllen, Texas?
We certainly call on Democrats to tone down their rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol agents who, again, are everyday men and women. I would encourage AOC and other Democrats to actually meet with the United States Border Patrol. These are honorable Americans who are just simply trying to do their job to enforce the law. They go home to their families every night, just like we all do, and they deserve respect and dignity for trying to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to remove public safety threats from our communities. The White House is aware of the shooting that took place today in Texas, and we are working with the appropriate federal agencies to get to the bottom of what happened.
You better believe it. You know, human beings just trying to actually protect our country, and look at what they're up against. Anyway, all of these people are going to face in my opinion, similar fate to LaMonica MacGyver, because she's been charged, as I said, violating Title 18 U.S. Code Section 111A1. Now, in this case, I don't know as they were assaulting, but they were certainly impeding, and they certainly were interfering with law enforcement. Whether you got Karen Bass out in Chicago, whether you got Karen Bass out in L.A., or Brandon Johnson out in Chicago, or whether it is Letitia James, the AG in New York, or Kathy Hochul there. I mean, at least Eric Adams is cooperating. But wow, I mean, Michelle Wu, we haven't even gotten into her out there in Boston. They really think that they are their own islands, and they have their own little militias, and they're going to run totally amok of what the federal government and the Constitution demands and says. You got the communist Mamdani, who has already made it very, very clear that he's going to do exactly what the mayor of Chicago said he's going to do. We're not going to cooperate. If this guy gets elected, and by the way, guys, he's got actually a fairly decent shot at getting elected, as scary as that sounds. This is why we came here. All of our ancestors came here to get away from regimes that would dole out property, right? Remember? I mean, nobody wanted the monarch to be handing you a piece of property. You wanted a chance to actually own it yourself. It's written right into the Constitution, Fifth Amendment. We did that on the 4th of July show, right? All about life, liberty, happiness, and by the way, the right to own property. They can't just take it away from you. That's a big deal. But this communist who wants to be the next New York City mayor, he thinks he can take it away from you. He's going to decommodify housing, he says. And he's going to make sure that he does not cooperate with ICE under any circumstances because, well, why would we do that, right? Here he is speaking on CNN.
It's back into the public sector.
All right. So you caught a lot of attention for confronting Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, about the deportation policies, which have a lot of impact here in New York. Here you are.
I remember that.
Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan?
So that moment went viral. All right. Then after the primary, Homan was asked about your plan, which is on your website. You said that you would end the city's cooperation with ICE agents that has been going on under Mayor Adams. And he has spoken out. Here's what he said.
Good luck with that. Federal law trumps him every day, every hour of every minute. We're going to be in New York City. Game on. We're coming.
Game on. He's coming. What do you say?
That I'm going to be here to stand up and fight back. And unlike the current mayor, I'm not going to be working alongside the Trump administration to build the single largest deportation force in American history. I'm going to actually represent each and every New Yorker. And that includes immigrant New Yorkers. And that means standing up for the laws of this city, like our sanctuary city policies, which have kept New Yorkers safe for decades and were defended by Republicans and Democrats alike for years until we got this mayor who fear-mongered about them so extensively.
Okay. Does that involve the NYPD?
Let's just be very clear. Defended for decades before we had 20 million people rush the border. I mean, we weren't dealing with what we were dealing with. And by the way, like, Obama wasn't okay with it. Remember? I'm going to have to pull that soundbite. We're going to have to watch that at some point this week. Not today, but he made it very clear. He went on to Telemundo or Univision and he said, look, here's the deal. The law's the law. And while he was making some concessions for the quote-unquote dreamers, he was not willing to make concessions for anyone else. No one else, right? So, Trump's been asked about this, and I love the response. This has turned into a meme. What would you do if Mandani says he's not going to work or cooperate with ICE? Here's the answer.
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zorhan Mandami, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zorhan Mandami.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him.
Okay, but again, I hate to have to do this little education segment every single day, but it is really important. If you're talking to anybody and they're going to, say, oh, well, he can't do this, he doesn't have the right to do this, you better believe federal government has the right to do this all day long. Federal government actually doesn't have a ton of rights. They really don't, actually. And I'm a small government kind of gal, having grown up in Live Free or Die, New Hampshire. By the way, Scott Brown, who's running for Senate in New Hampshire as a Republican, former Republican senator from Massachusetts, is going to be joining us shortly. But this is called the Naturalization Clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. The Congress shall have the power to establish a uniform rule of naturalization, because you know what? You can't have the United States of America if somebody's not in charge of who's going to be in the United States. All right? Right. Okay, so New York, you want to go become your own country? Maybe you can join Canada. Oh, although we may be gobbling up Canada too. I'm just kidding. I want to be careful with our Canadian fans out there. Or California. You've talked forever about being your own little country. Go for it, okay? Just don't expect us to defend you for anything, ever. There is constitutional precedent for all of this. You can go back to a case that was decided by the Supreme Court in 2012 in Arizona. The supremacy clause is part of this as well. In other words, you can be your sanctuary city until ICE says, you know what, we got a criminal hanging out in your city and we care about this and we want this person arrested. And then who actually has the power? It's not that hard, people. It's not that. This is not a trick question. It's the federal government that has the power, thanks to the Constitution. And that is what the Supreme Court is going to decide all day long. All day long, and then some. Unless you get Ketanji Brown Jackson, who even Sotomayor had to call out in yesterday's decision because the woman fails to actually argue based on any law, and she's just all emotion. She's like a hot take news anchor, kind of like, oh, she ought to join Joy Reid's show. That'd be good. There's no substance to anything she writes. It's just, well, I think. It's like, Ketanji, how'd you get that job? Oh, we won't go there. All right, Balance of Nature, one of our great sponsors on the show. You know we're fully independent here. We love being fully independent. I take Balance of Nature because it's really important to get all your vitamins and all your nutrients. And you know what else? This stuff is good. We talk about the MAHA movement. You know, Kennedy's gotten, my kids are going nuts with me because I'm looking at the ingredients on everything. I literally just threw out an entire shelf of cereal. Kid you not. My son was like, no, those were my strawberry Cheerios. And I'm like, tough. This is political now. No, I'm teasing. It doesn't need to be political, but I would say this. It suddenly, I think, caught my attention in a bigger way. And so I'm looking at all the ingredients and Balance in Nature, of course, and it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. And you know what? We need more good stuff in our systems. I always feel really good when I'm overseas traveling. Felt great last summer in Ireland. Got lots of exercise, ate right. And actually, I think part of it is that there's just no preservatives in the way that we get lots of preservatives here in the food. So this is what Balance in Nature is about, giving you vitamins that don't have any of the junk. And believe me, I've looked at some of the kids' vitamins that I have around the house and mine as well. And it wasn't just the cereal shelf that I had to throw out. I mean, there are other things as well because, you know, you think you're getting magnesium, but suddenly you're getting all the sugar with the magnesium. I digress. The point is you get 35% off with code word Trish. Just use code word Trish. This is a great company. And you know what we love about them? They support us. And so it's a win-win all around. You get 35% off with code word Trish. It helps me, helps this show, and it helps you because you need to prioritize yourself and your health for goodness sakes. Balanceinature.com. Use code word Trish. Get the 35% off plus free shipping plus money back guarantee.